So one of the biggest issues I have with TCGs in general, and this is coming from a moderate conservative, so if that tells you anything, is the amount of waste that is produced in any card game. So Legend Story Studio might seem small, but I think it's huge that they went with paper wrappers and made a complete recyclable from cards, wrappers, box. They can get rid of the plastic on the outside, completely recyclable. I think that's amazing. Great job. Outcast Haven podcast starts now. So I wanted to start even keel just because to me that's a big issue. I think there's too much waste in this world in general. And it sucks and it's depressing when you open up, you get your case of boxes and you're sitting with all these wrappers on the floor and then 1,000 extra commons you don't need. You're like, son of a bitch. The amount of waste that goes into these games is horrible. So taking little steps like this, I think, go a long way because it is a little step, but it's a big step at the same time. Is that a company is addressing the issue and trying to make it better. So I appreciate that they do that little things along with the cool gameplay and everything else. Very happy that they did something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's extra cool because of the point they made that it's like a cool thing to line up with the set that they're in or the kind of theme that they're following with this like back to back of Tales of Aria and then into the Everfest, having it all be about Aria, which is all like these environmental themes, it's kind of a really cool thing that it lined up perfectly to be doing this kind of environmental recyclable forward theme of even their product wrappers and stuff. It's a cool how it lined up like that.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, is this, I like it. But speaking of waste, if they want to take like those next steps, like we got to discuss IRA players and how to get rid of all them because they're just wastes of space. So
what a waste.
With especially like Blitz skirmishes coming up. Let's just figure out how to get rid of these IRA players.
IRAs? Yeah. Old them and just make them not want to play the deck.
They're probably all really excited though, because after they all switched off chain, after that was auto win, now they're probably like, I get to play IRA again. Because it's the same people. The same people are playing that.
It works out though, because the same people who played the variant of Bravo in Vegas that took down all of the free win chains are going to be the same people who sleeve up their anti-IRA Oldhim decks that just go, look, here's the deal. Either I'm going to win or neither of us is going to win. There's no scenario where IRA wins.
Mean nothing to me.
I'm not going to let you Kodachi me a single time. Which I just kind of love.
Yeah.
And then get Oak and Oldhim.
Yeah.
But so before we get into the Everfest rage, which is going to be amazing because I feel like fighting over art and colors is the most amazing thing because there is no winner. It's just a lot of fun. So I'm excited for that. But before we get into that, Dane reminded me of something.
Yeah, because you weren't here last week. You needed to bring this up.
Yeah, so we're sitting at and I understand why they do it, but it's annoying. So we're sitting at Orlando doing our draft for nationals, and it's worse than school with the be quiet, right? And afterwards I go to Dane, I'm like, you have poker players playing for millions of dollars on the line, and they're talking trash and getting in their opponent's head left and right. We're sitting down for something that's supposed to be fun. I want to be talking trash during the draft. And I understand but I don't know how to talk trash. We can't do that. It's going to hurt. And I actually brought it up to Matt Rogers, and he's like, the only problem is you could tell other people what you're having.
Yeah, fuck it. Dude, Pat raised a really good point.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to walk up before anything starts, before they can get mad at me. I'm just going to walk up and be like, I'm drafting Briar, bitches, and sit down and start. It's like,
Right, because there's nothing you can.
Yeah.
Who cares? You could, is he lying? Is he not lying? Guess what? Fucking don't put too much weight into it.
It's like every little thing.
Briar.
You guys aren't supposed to be quiet. You guys be quiet. Like every little thing. It's like, okay, we're supposed. Okay, now I'm gonna get pissed. We're supposed to be at these to have fun. Okay, that's the fucking reason we play cards, is to have fun. Okay, I'm not in it to win $10,000. That's not. I go there at fun. If I do, awesome, great. If I don't, I'm going to get drunk at night. We're going to play cards with other people's decks while we get wasted. Whatever happens, right? I have a coffee sitting in the very edge of the table, like this, and I'm passing cards. It's bothering nobody. A fucking judge walks over. You need to put that on the ground. I'm like, oh my! I was super sarcastic because I'm like, get the fuck out of here. It's a goddamn coffee, okay?
You spill it everywhere. Spill it anywhere. Cards. Yeah.
I could spill it anywhere. You know what? Somebody could be walking along the table and could spill their coffee while we're trying to draft. The world is mysterious. Yet they have fans that are blowing 100 miles per hour right over the top of us, but nobody addresses that. But my fucking coffee, better not have it on the table. Let's have some fun for once. This is crazy. For fun. That's why we play these games, is for fun. And it drove me nuts. It's like, come on. Like when you're playing normal games, you're talking, you're jabbing, you're having fun. If you're not having fun, then why do you do it?
Dude, got to get that money, man. And no communicating, because the people that are playing these games at that high level, like, they don't want to communicate, man. They just want to.
I know, but that you should be able to. You should. It's part of.
I personally,
part of cards is bluffing.
Yeah, I personally think that should be an accepted part of drafting and like doing those social formats. Like, this is a social format, but no socializing allowed.
You're supposed to play in flesh and blood. Just don't talk to the person you're playing against, okay? Play in the flesh and blood, but don't fucking talk. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth right now.
That's how I feel. Talking to me. Yeah, there was a couple judges that were kind of dicks about it too, but I just don't understand it as a big concept. Like, I'll be honest, you lost me a little bit on the coffee, because it's like, if they came over and said nicely, like, but I also get why they wouldn't say something nicely, because it's probably the 17th time they've said it to somebody, so they're kind of probably
nowhere near the cards. I made sure it was nowhere near the cards.
Yeah, but it gets knocked over and it spills over half the table. Like, you get, like, they can't sit down and evaluate every individual coffee position's a possible issue. They have the rule that says no drinks anywhere on the table. Got it. And whatever.
We heard a noise over here. What's going on?
That aside, I don't conceptually understand why talking isn't allowed in these formats. Like, just boiled down to what you were saying, it's like they're playing for literal millions of dollars and they're socializing, talking shit, trying to get in each other's heads. And we're playing for a couple $100, hundreds of dollars, and like some cards. And it's like, you better not say anything, because this is really important. It's like, the fuck? Get out of here. No, I'm going to, like, if you were to let me, if you're going to be a dick at the draft table and like fuck up other people's game plans, people got to know how to deal with that. You know, like, just fucking ignore them. Just be like, oh, you're probably full of shit. It might not even be drafting what they said they were drafting. Like,
I'll be honest, like, when we drafted locally, like at the source, it was a blast. It was some of the most fun I had, because we were talking shit. Who would pass this? Are you serious? You gave me this?
Yeah, you passed me a fucking...
Right. So it was fun. Yeah. It was the worst time ever, and I dreaded doing it the second day. Like, I dreaded having to sit there for half hour, whatever it is, in silence, and then have to ask a judge to fucking going to the bathroom. Well, you better go to the bathroom now, because once we get going, you can't go to the bathroom. It was ridiculous. Sorry. Some people are like, oh, you're insane. Yeah, I am insane. Yeah. I just want to have fun.
Yeah. I think some of it, right. Some of it is, it's all about how it's handled. I think that's what it really comes down to, is how it's handled. And some of the judges took it too serious, and their demeanor was definitely wrong in terms of how they handled it. I get what Dane's saying, right? They're annoyed. It's like a parent or a teacher having to ask the same kid 47 times to do something. The problem is they're not asking the same kid. they're asking a bunch of grown adults who paid money to do this. And if you can approach people the right way, then your response will be different. I was annoyed at my table because one of the guys was literally just asking for one of the plastic bags that you put your cards in before you went and registered. He was just pointing at the other, and he's like, "Hey, can I get one of those plastic bags?" And one of the judges didn't come by and say, "Hey guys, if we could just not talk, like we're just not supposed to talk here." He walked up and he goes, "This is a silent process," and then like walked away with speed. And I'm like, that's the wrong way to handle it, whether you're annoyed or not. You cannot deal with people like that and expect a positive response, because then people exist in this world where, to Jason's point, now I'm annoyed because you're basically treating me like a child. I'm not. I'm a grown ass man. I paid money to be here. So if I'm asking somebody to hand me a bag, like,
I will turn into a child. Honestly, you treat me like a child, I will morph very easily.
I mean,
very easily into a child.
And I think that's normal, right?
That's normal. That's a standard response.
If you start to get condescending to somebody, then they're just going to do it right back. It's going to get worse. It always spirals. It always gets worse. So you got to handle it, whether you like it or not as a judge, whether you're tired or you've asked 37 people to move their coffees off. You can't be like, "Coffee on the floor," and then walk away and expect it to go well.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to handle it.
About ripping on the judges like we are is we're not even ripping on LSS because they didn't supply the judges. It was Channel Fireball. So we're not even ripping on Legend Story Studios, which makes me feel okay. We're ripping on a huge company, which
and to be fair, the judges' code of conduct is very specific about not being like condescending or not talking down to people, but rather trying to find positive solutions in every sense. Like positive solutions in, "Hey, could you guys not talk so much," is very different even from like, they want you to find a positive solution as best you can to situations that have actual, influence on the game state. It's like, "Hey, I think my opponent is cheating." Okay, let's calm down. Let's have a discussion. Let's work this out amongst ourselves. Let's end this in a way that works out positive for everybody. And let's try not to give anybody a DQ. Let's try not to boot anybody from the tournament. That's kind of their attitude at all levels. So I'm assuming that LSS does not like if their judges talk to people like they're children when it comes to sitting at a table, passing things around the table. So
right. I don't know. I've never seen one smile. So if you've seen one smile or have photos of it smiling, just go ahead and message us the picture of a judge smiling, because I've yet to see it.
I had a couple like decent conversations with some of the judges that were like,
"Oh, now you're best friends? You want to hold their hands and run through the daisies of the field up the hill?"
This is what happens in like private behind the scenes when we're not on podcasts, when someone disagrees with something someone else thinks, is they just are immediately made to feel like
that's
fucking
right. It's going to be amazing when we talk about the box, which I don't even know. Like, I don't even know where this conversation is going. But we're gonna morph. We're gonna get off the judges' backs. Okay, we're gonna morph into Everfest, which like this is a podcast I really wish Mark was on, as being he's huge into going to concerts and festivals. Like, he'd be front row mosh pitting at Everfest 100%. So it'd be nice to have him or something like that. Give us a that the feel of the mosh pit of Everfest. I do love the name. I think it's a sweet name.
Yeah,
I do feel like it's a rock concert. But I want to hear what is the box art discussion that we're having here.
So I don't like what's been shown for Everfest so far. For me, so this is what, you know what, Blake, do you have a point that you want to raise before I go on a tangent, or do you want to respond?
I can respond. That's fine.
Okay. So the Everfest in my brain it's this fantastical land. It was like basically like a fantasy Renaissance fair type, like, because they, believe it or not, had carnivals.
What the picture looks like.
They had carnivals before there was the fucking Tilt-A-Whirl and the fucking big red and white striped tent. Like, there were carnivals existed before that, right? So in my brain, when we're talking about this like land, like historical fantasy land, I wasn't picturing the fucking modern carnival. So when it comes out that it's like this red and white striped big top with the Ferris wheel and the roller coaster. I'm like, I don't like this at all. And then Blake is like, dude, bravo, man. It says Carnival. He's the leader of the Legendarium in the Carnival, man. It said Carnival. It's always said Carnival. I'm like, yes, but don't treat me like I'm ridiculous for having pictured like an old carnival, like medieval carnival, and not like a modern fucking carnies.
You see the way he dressed?
Yeah,
He matches it perfectly. Like,
yeah.
Look at the background. It's identical to this carnival. It literally, this is what it is on his card.
It's the flashing lights and the people throwing the balls at the bottles to win a teddy bear in the fucking background.
Absolutely, 100% is. If you look
what's in the background?
I know you've never played him. Look at it. Look at his card. Look at the background. There's people throwing stuff. There's people everywhere. They're cheering. He's in the exact colors that you would expect a carnival big top guy to be in if it was Barnum and Bailey.
you guys are gonna honestly tell me that there's nothing that rubs you the wrong way about having like a carnival that we would see in like fucking Massachusetts now in modern days existing in fucking
First, this wouldn't be in modern day Massachusetts. It's got a wooden Ferris wheel. It looks like a Rune Blade made roller coaster that's very fantastic. Everything is ancient, so nope, doesn't rub me the wrong way.
The flashing lights are super ancient for sure, and like the big top tent.
It's probably arcane.
Really ancient, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
probably arcane. I mean, you have Dash with a pistol. That doesn't bother you that she can shoot guns and has all this machinery.
Dude, that's like steampunky. That's like that is. So this is what bothers me is that this carnival could like if this was like this is in Metrics. It's their yearly like Metrics Day carnival. I'd be like, okay, cool. They're like an advanced portion of Wraith. Like I could see some steampunky shit. That's cool. I've accepted Metrics as being a part of this world. Not in fucking Aria. Aria's
Dane,
like
so Dane doesn't perceive that anybody outside of Metrics has electricity, is what he's saying.
So you're
only Metrics.
Gotcha. So when you're picturing Aria, like you also in your imagination have like they got their power grid, they got their power lines running. They've got. I mean, that's how Aria is.
So like
an idiot.
I've watched Disney movies before, and I've seen like fairy godmothers do little things with wands and like make lights float and appear and things happen. There's no reason to believe that just because there's lights on things that it has to be a hard electricity.
Because I get it, but why make it look like
in a fantastical world you can do whatever you want? That's the beauty of it. Is that some mage or magician or something could have like whipped up
people
anything.
Grew from seeds in the ground.
So you guys
but you're caught on the fucking shiny lights.
I'm caught. I'll be honest, it's the fucking big top tent that catches me. That
is the best part of it. That's my favorite part of this, to be honest with you, is the tent.
So you guys okay, go ahead.
Okay,
it matches Bravo's outfit.
It matches Aria so perfectly. Fuck off.
It does.
It does.
How does it not match Bravo? You put Bravo's picture in there, you'd be like, oh, this makes sense. What kind of tent would a guy dressed with 3 buttons down, Matt Rogers style, red vest, blue pants, flowing hair, ladies all over him? You want him to be in a brown, dingy tent?
No, he's bright. Like it existed. So
hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
This is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Look up Aria. If you go to the page on fabtcg.com/world-of-wraith/Aria, it's literally the Everfest Carnival. This has been the main image and the front page of Aria since the existence of fabtcg.com. Since Aria, it's the Everfest Carnival, and they have had big tops on it from the very beginning. So
where is
any
it?
perception to the contrary.
Where is it?
If you Google Aria, Flesh and Blood,
I'm on the Flesh and Blood
picture.
page.
Right. If you go to Aria, a mythical sanctuary.
So articles,
the
game.
Top. Go to the world. Go home.
World of Wraith. Okay. Yeah.
World of Wraith. The very top one, Aria. It's the Everfest Carnival. It's a zoomed out picture of the Everfest Carnival that they use in the art.
So that
art.
Yeah. No, I've seen this art, and
this
is fine.
Same art.
This is fine. Like to me, this is acceptable because it's still surrounded by like a fantastical setting. Like it's still okay. what you guys are saying is that
Everfest
if there
Carnival
was
is in a fantastical world. There's like things in trees that look at the roller coaster like around trees.
It
and
doesn't
up
even
and
have
loose.
it doesn't have support. So it's a
It's just
phantasmical
floating in the air.
It's floating in the air.
So if they had a new hero, say Lexi, okay? Lexi comes out and on her card art, she's stepping out of a Ferrari. Your argument would be that
How is this like a Ferrari? How is this like a Ferrari?
I'll wait till you're done.
Look at
I just don't know how this is like a Ferrari. That's like an
It's funny because I was in the middle of talking and could have possibly finished and explained it, but you didn't let me. So let me know when you're done.
For young Lexi. The art for young Lexi is her at a carnival shooting a bow.
Carnivals existed. They did exist. Yeah, way back when.
Okay, but they couldn't have tents.
We know this is way back
tents.
There's like 40 different kinds of tents in the key art.
I know, and they chose to use the red and white stripes.
What
fucking PT
There's
Barnum?
a bunch of them that are different colors. There's no actual red and white stripes
except for the fucking box art, the big central thing. It's like we're gonna shape this around something that does
right.
Okay, I'm definitely the wrong one.
Simple point.
I'm the wrong one.
Very simple point. How do you make art stand out in a sea of TCGs full of crazy fantastical art? How do you make it? You make a big top.
Yep.
So it stands out on the shelf. So it's literally marketing to use the red and white striped one as the box.
And I agree with that. I agree with you on that. Like, I agree with that because that is the point that you made when we were. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, go ahead.
Box ever. WTR. Most unattractive box ever.
Yeah. I agree. Cool. Can I talk now? Am I good? Can I talk now?
Yeah, that's fine. You can bitch some more about like nonsensical nonsense.
I agree.
You imagined the world different, and now you're mad because it's not what you imagined. That's exactly what's happening. It's like oh, I saw the trailer for this movie, and I theorized the whole movie in my head, and now I'm pissed that the guy who wrote it didn't write the story in my head and instead wrote the story that he wanted to. What an idiot!
Absolutely, that is what's happening, and I agree with you about the box art. I think that the box art is like I don't mind that because that is just good marketing. It's gonna stand out from the other fucking plain boxes or like the anime fucking craziness that is like DBS and Vice Schwartz and all that stuff. So like the box art, I get that. That's fine. But 100% what's happening is that I didn't picture Arya even with like this fantasy. Yes, they've always used the term carnival. Yes, they showed like these colorful tents and everything, but they never leaned so far into it that there was a fucking Ferris wheel and roller coaster in this. Like, tell me, looking at the key art that you talked about, that seeing a roller coaster going in and out of those branches wouldn't be like, really, an Arya? Like that one, you guys are you can't understand that at all.
I want to reply to this. Number one, you could put a Ferrari in the middle of this and it wouldn't bother me because it doesn't fucking matter as long as the card games are good. I don't care about.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm excited for the set. Like the set's gonna be fucking awesome.
I would have a mat of this.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a roller coaster, if there wasn't in a land of magic and all these other worlds that bring all these things and they didn't have something crazy, what are you doing with all those special abilities and magic that you can't even have a fun carnival where you have tents with a bearded lady, which just isn't acceptable in 2021? I mean, is that what you want? You want 1920? You want to shame the people in the tents? Is that what you're looking for, Dane? You want to shame the people, the weird people that they put in the tents in the 20s. I don't like that. That's not me. That's you, Dane. That's not me. I'm okay with the roller coasters.
To my Ferrari point, though, like if someone were to be stepping out of a Ferrari, your guys' argument would be like, well, they're magic. They could make it with magic means. It's like, okay, so you guys are so invested on the fact that, yes, they could physically do all of this. Yes, it makes sense in the setting. You're so invested in that taking a step back and saying, why the fuck is there a Ferrari type thing in Arya? That is beyond you guys. You can't understand where someone would look at this and say, so that doesn't seem like it fits with like this like fantasy, like high elf land, Lord of the Rings bullshit. Like also PT Barnum.
So here's the thing. My issue is this, right? So my issue with any of that argument that, well, a Ferrari is like, if it was in metrics, like some sort of Ferrari looking car with steampunk pipes would be fine because it makes sense. The fact that from day one they've represented Bravo as the star of a carnival and the leader of the Legendarium, who's a storyteller who people come to see, and they've put, like I
you know what, like
Crush Confidence has a tent in the back of it, and because Jason and I have played enough Bravo, we've seen a ton of Aria art. So like these rainbows and fantastical things, that doesn't bother me at all.
No, that's fine. It's a really bright world. Like Aria is a bright land. It all
makes sense. Yeah. Like Ferris wheels and things like that. It doesn't bother me because, like, when was the first time they made a Ferris wheel? Probably not 1985.
No, for sure.
So the World's Fair back in the late 19, early 1900s, I believe.
Yeah. So like,
I also want to point out that like your Ferrari argument was almost verbatim what mine was, and then you gave me shit about Aria not having electricity. So like I could say the same shit about like, look at this guy acting like they don't have steam pump shit and Aria.
Well,
like you said that the Ferrari,
the first Ferris
up until now, I didn't think that they had like modern.
Right. So you didn't think they had a Ferris wheel, but there's never been a point in the game where they were like, Aria is a land of simple folk who do nothing but sit in their simple homes and churn butter and live their lives. No, they live in a fantastical land.
Yeah, look at fucking Volthaven and Eisenloft and Candlehold. It's like, oh, when's the big top come into town? That's what everyone was thinking looking at that art.
But that's the thing though, is like Aria is a huge area that has all these different areas. They have the Thunderstep and the Channel Lake Frigid. It's not saying like this carnival travels to Eisenloft. They're saying like this is in like the heart of Aria. That's like this land that with the flow changes and morphs over time.
Yeah, and it travels all over Aria.
Fantastical. Right. All over Aria, but that doesn't mean it goes to literally every corner of Aria. And like,
okay.
So here, I want to make 2 points real quick.
Yep.
Number one, the first Ferris wheel is 1893, Chicago, Illinois. So that's pretty old. Yep. Number two,
super old. If you look at Aria art and Chicago, Illinois, 1983 or 1893, that's for sure like same. Like I could see it fitting.
Ferris wheels are old. But here's the worst point that I can't take any credence to your argument, Dane, is because of this.
Yep.
Your first point was pissed for the red and white and the box art. Okay. And this isn't your fault. You didn't play Bravo. The box art and on the main Fab TCG, they have the ribbons, the shades or the curtains coming down and then they're wrapped.
Yeah.
With the white background. The gold on that is exactly the same gold that is in Bravo's overcoat. The red is the identical red in his overcoat, and he wears the white shirt underneath. It's legitimately matches him to a T. Like it matches Bravo to a T.
Yeah. And I like the fact that his coat and everything, like he looks fucking cool. He also looks like he could be like the leader of a troupe of performers that would be in like a carnival, not like this modern carnival bullshit that we see.
Well, there's two things in it that are modern.
What I'm literally looking at it now. I'm seeing people in like cloaks. And there's a guy on stilts that's in like a robe and like got like the court jester outfit from like medieval times. I'm missing the stand with the milk bottles that you got to knock over there.
So I guess my question is like, what's the thing that really triggers the fact that it's like this 1997-esque or 2000-esque
not
carnival?
That modern. It's like mid, like it strikes me as like fucking P.T. Barnum type shit.
Right. You mean when they didn't have electricity?
Or
like they had just created electricity within the last like 10 years.
I mean, I imagine that's where this world's at, like this part of the world at least. Like if they have any,
it just made electricity. So they
outside of like metrics, which is leading the way. Yeah, like I'm not picturing Solana like they've got light switches and shit.
I mean, have you seen the insane architecture in Solana?
Where do you see it? So, are you considering the orbs to be electricity?
No. I honestly don't care. I don't give two shits how it's all happening. Because it's honestly just art. I don't care whether it's electricity. I don't care the realism of it. All of this could happen realistically within the world. I get that. That could be magic. It could be, that's not what's bothering me. What's bothering me is that they injected this already established like carnival thing that we have outside of this lore we've got it to exist in the real world. This setting, if someone were to draw this, would be like, oh, it's like a fantasy carnival. Yes. But they're taking this like very established carnival aesthetic that we have in our world, and they're just saying it's going to be in like one of the arguably most fantastical parts of this fantasy world, and we're just going to put it in there.
I think that the way the things look fantastical.
Oh, for sure.
They don't have modern science behind them.
I'm talking about the aesthetic. I'm not talking about mechanically how shit works. I'm talking about the aesthetic of it all.
Right, but the aesthetic of like the upside down big top that's like spinning like a top somehow, like that makes no sense. That's magical. Like they're doing some sort of magical thing.
Oh, we're not gonna. I don't want to debate like the individual things that are magical and not in this, because there are magical shit in here that I don't know how it works, and that's sweet.
What's not
like
magical?
These tents are very like. There's a mixture of Barnum and Bailey and a mixture of medieval going to war style tents.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a very mixed art. It's just all over the place. I don't know. I guess I've never got that frustrated with art unless we're talking MetaZoo. Then it's just trash. But to this like nothing really bothers me on this one.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the like. I think in summary, I don't. It caught me off guard more than anything. I was like, they just released like one of this, like the set that was themed around Arya was like these like ancient old ones, and like these clans and these different cities, and they're floating lightning cities, and like all of these fantastical settings. And then they're like, oh, this next set, we're gonna lean super hard into like 1870s carnival. It's like, that is not what I was expecting to see. That's like, if they had a card in there that was like a new resource, it was a token and it was a golden ticket, like a card that was the golden ticket, that would be fine with you guys. You'd be cool with it. You'd be like, this fits Flesh and Blood.
I mean, so I guess here's my thing, right? Like, because I love Bravo, I've always loved Arya. Like I like Arya art. And I always think that like Bravo has been cool. So looking at his like carnival background, like they talked a lot about like carnival things. Like it wasn't like this. It's a magic, right? But what I'm saying is, it's not like this thing where they were like it was only these ancient Renaissance fair things like roasting things and glass blowers. They talk about like jugglers and acrobats and contortionists and jesters and hoop divers and circus tents, and they literally use the word like circus tent or carnival tent or tent. Like they've made a point to say that like they have circus tents. So in my brain, when someone says circus tent, I think of Barnum and Bailey's.
You picture this big top.
Crush Confidence has it in the background.
Basically the same background.
So so I think maybe, I guess because I read a ton of fantasy, and like I partake in a lot of like fantasy media, and there's a book called The Kingkiller Chronicles where the main character, his family is literally like, they're essentially a group of people that are a traveling performing troupe. That's like what their people, their national pride is, that their people do this thing for other countries. And they have like a wagon train. They set up the pop-up like stages, and they have jugglers, and they've got flame blowers, and they've got all this shit. And they've got bards and musicians and performers and actors and all this shit. And it's a carnival. It is literally a carnival. And I'm picturing that for World of Wraith more than I'm picturing Barnum and Bailey Carnival for the World of Wraith. That is where, when I was given this version of the carnival, I was like, okay, every time they said carnival and stuff, I defaulted to this because I think that this fits this setting better than like the 1810 to 1880 carnival that we have in our real world. That aesthetic doesn't fit World of Wraith as well as like this like performing troupe, traveling troupe of performers carnival. So when I was given, in my mind, yes, and it's just in my mind. And then when I was given this, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Arya's got the big top too. That's fine. And it is fine too. In the grand scheme of things, this set's going to be fucking awesome. And I'm really excited to see it. And I don't give a shit really if it's, the art could be whatever they want it to be. If the cards are good and fun, it's still fun to play. I don't give a shit. But it just rubbed me the wrong way because I was not expecting it. And I still don't think it fits like the setting. You can argue it all you want, but I don't think that like an 1810 carnival fits fucking Aria. But that's me.
I think it does.
But again, that's like a perception thing for you, because I think like the level that you've thought about Aria or seen Aria art is significantly less than like Jason or I, just literally by looking at Bravo cards. Because of the amount of time you look at, like, you can't look at a Bravo. Like, Bravo carries around a hammer.
This is what I would imagine.
Like, yeah,
this is 100% what I would have imagined.
Like, when they
With
say
Bravo
leads a
this
carnival,
fits it.
it's a circus. Like, the dude is like the...
I don't even know what you're picturing, to be honest, Dane. Can you give me something to Google so I can see what you're picturing?
It's just like what I was picturing for this is like a Renaissance fair with like the jesters juggling and shit, but like more fantastical.
So here's like the counterpoint to that though. Yep. Wouldn't a Renaissance fair make more sense in Solana than in Aria? Like, Aria feels circusy. Like, it's this magical, mystical.
See, that's the thing, is like Aria's never felt
quirky, strange things.
So Aria's never felt circusy to me. Aria's always felt like high magic, like more like I don't know, like more like, I'm trying to think of like an example that a lot of people looking at pictures of Renaissance festivals. This is 100% not what I would have pictured. Yeah, and that's the hard thing, is that like a Renaissance is almost like more hard standing structure, like houses and shit. So it's kind of hard to like picture that moving around and stuff.
Right.
But I was picturing more,
just because like even his hammer is for the game where you hammer. Like there's pictures of him where he does the hammer where it goes up and hits. His hammer is used for that. So to me, just from Bravo point of view, this fits. Like, this is exactly how I would expect the 10th. Yeah.
And I think that what my brain did is when I saw like the Bravo art, because I have seen it. I know you guys play it a lot, so that's good for you guys. But I have seen the art, believe it or not. When I thought that was all more like tongue in cheek, like haha, look at this, is kind of like this is a fun throw out or call out to like him being a card, like the red and white. That's a super like dingy red and white tent in the background that I thought was like a tongue-in-cheek like laugh at, like a carnival-y. Haha. I guess my brain always thinks about the fact that LSS loves to toe that line between very on the nose and very tongue-in-cheek. And this is still towing the line to you. This is not on the nose.
This is on the nose, but also tongue-in-cheek, because it's clearly a carnival, but it's made magical and mystical. But I just have a hard time looking at Bravo, a guy who clearly is wearing like a flexed out P.T. Barnum's jacket, and then carrying around a hammer from the game where he's trying to ding the bell to win a prize as his literal weapon that he's defeating like monsters with and protecting Aria, and not thinking, this dude clearly goes home to like a legit circus. Like, the dude is P.T. Barnum. If you look at him, it's like if P.T. Barnum got really into lifting and just got swole, he would be Bravo the showstopper. Like, if Hugh Jackman was called upon, his P.T. Barnum was called upon to defend his land, he would turn into Bravo the showstopper.
Worst actor for Bravo, Nicolas Cage. I mean, come on, worst actor ever, because he's got the hair, but if he's balding,
do the hair,
washed up Bravo. Nicolas Cage walks, and he's like, "What?" Now I would get mad at that. I think they casted Nicolas Cage. How could they do that?
Why would you get mad at that? Would you have gotten mad because you were picturing something different, and then they?
No, because I literally saw art of a strong guy, and they give me a little wiry bald guy, so it would be the actual depiction of the exact
clear picture of Bravo.
So anyway, let's talk about the other crazy news. Is possibly a Netflix series or in talks. I mean, the one thing that is a little odd right now is, after talking and watching the show, the Arcane League of Legends would be really, really similar to a Flesh and Blood, in the fact that it's got the steampunk. You basically have Dash. You have Dash in Arcane League of Legends. You have Chain, or a version of Chain. You have people trying to make magic, and magic was once something that was in the lore of that area, where that show is set, that would be like a hard. They'd have. I don't know how you make it enough different from that show that's already out right now.
They would probably just need to start it elsewhere. Like they couldn't have a story that was like Dash centric and then like focus on like her relationship with her sister or something like that. Obviously that would be too similar, but they could start it with like, could you imagine like a show that opens on like Kasai wandering like the wastelands and then like meeting Kano and just like moving into like the whole like Solana and the monastery shit.
I'm gonna go R-rated right now.
Yeah.
But here's how I picture the opening. The scene with the Witcher where he's with all the naked chicks, only that's Bravo. Come on. That's how it opens. Just Bravo.
Henry Cavill would be a dope Bravo, actually.
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
He wears a long hair. He wears a long. I mean, wow. Yeah, Henry Cavill. Yeah, he's kind of a man crush for me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's a good looking man.
He should be for everybody, right? Yeah, like the
Indy has Akitas. I have Akita. He's got an Akita. I mean, come on, this guy's awesome.
You're basically him.
He's
Henry. I lost some weight, gained some muscle, grew hair somehow. Yeah, I'd be basically him.
I just love that he's like the king of the nerds. Like he doesn't just play nerd characters, but like he built his own PC. He's married to he loves. Yeah, it's just I love that he's like the king of the nerds. It's like the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a show would be a cool way for them to like expand the world more than what they've been able to, because like right now it's so hard for them, I think, to just manage everything being so fast growing. That lore seems to be one of those things that they really love the lore, and the storytelling is a really important part of what they do, but they don't have a medium to do it efficiently and effectively beyond when they release the stories for the heroes. But like when you read the background on some of the heroes, it's incredible. Like I would love to see the Katsu backstory actually in an episode of something, or like with the clans fighting in Mysteria would be really cool to see how Viserai becomes the Arknight. Like that whole story fleshed out would be really cool, but also giving some backstory to this idea that they've talked about a lot, which is that the battle or the war between the rune blades and the warriors is kind of the centric to what they have in the world. And it's really important. Giving us more backstory on like that history and how that evolves and develops in the world and how it's created modern Wraith would be really cool to see and understand some of that kind of stuff. Like I don't even need some of the backstory on specific heroes, but maybe like the lands, because that's the thing is we have very specific stories on like Dorinthia and Bolton and Chain, but I would love to know more about Solana as an actual like city and what it looks like, because we've got these little bits of information, but I just would love to see more depth into them. And they could realistically do seasons or episodes where they could do an episode on each region or on multiple regions and then tie it all together as like one finishing story for seasons and stuff. Like there's so much they could do with what they have.
Yeah. I almost want to see like a prequel to where we are in the game right now. I want to see like how these lands became established, like Solana, like fighting for its like place as the central beacon of light in the world, and like the demonastery being like cordoned off effectively, you know what I mean? And then I think it would be really cool to see how like a lot of these lands sort of became what they are now. Like Metrics, dude, how does Metrics get founded? Like I want to know that. How do the pits develop? Like what causes? What's that story?
Yeah,
between
the Colorado River.
Yeah.
I do have the opening.
So you have the opening.
The ultimate opening.
Yeah.
It's Ira coming flipping in, just chopping people's heads off, just going through everybody with her swords, boom, 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 and then one zap from Kano's finger, boom, she's dead. Opening, she makes it 30 seconds into the show. Now we can go on to whatever you said.
And then that's the official announcement on Ira being banned.
That'd be amazing. But she has to chop a guy's head off right before she gets hit that's wearing a helmet. Like, that's the last guy's got a helmet on, and then Kano just goes a zap, and she's fucking blows up and dead. And then on the bottom, banned. Sorry.
Oh.
So
and then we can go into the prequel part that Dane said.
Yeah.
But I just want her to die first.
Here's the actual question. What do you guys want, or what do you think is coming in Everfest? Because now that we've discussed all of the important things like subjective
art,
parts about art and things like that, what are the things that you think are coming in Everfest, or what do you think is needed in Everfest for the sake of maybe the game and the evolution of the game?
Headpiece, wizard, temper 1 or temper 2, with maybe it breaks, pay 1 to op 3, pay 2 to op 4, something crazy like that, but that has block for wizard, just like 1 block. Even a temper 1 would be fine, where you could get 1 life out of it, because 1 life is a huge difference for him. So something like that would be really cool.
Temper 1, that would just be like blade break, right?
Blade break, yeah. You'd have to do like temper 2.
Temper 2, yeah, because you only use it
2
once.
block, and then you'd want to use it once,
and then you'd use its ability.
Yeah, so we know there's 3 legendaries. One of them is the Arcanite Skullcap. So do we think that we're just getting reprints this set? Do we think we're getting the Arcanite Skullcap, the Tunic?
Also, going to reprint another Tunic again?
I don't think they need to reprint Tunic again. No.
Not yet.
Because Welcome to Wraith isn't even out of print yet.
Yeah, that's fair. But now, so back to my question. I was just like listing legendaries that they could reprint. So Arcanite Skullcap. What's another like generic legendary? I don't even.
That's the thing, though. Is like it's just Skullcap and Tunic.
So then they've got 2 other legendaries that are being printed in this set. What do we think?
It's going to be Ninja and Wizard.
Yeah, because they're missing their second legendary option.
Yeah,
that's a guess. I think they're guess,
they're also the classes that are kind of in most in need of that slot to actually offer some other value. Like Tunic is good in Ninja, but it's just because it's the resource every few turns. Mm-hmm. Almost anything else would be better. Like something that's actually Ninja centric versus something that just gives you a resource every 3 turns.
A Ninja chess piece makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
a lot of sense.
Well, what if one of the legendaries is a weapon, and that's like the generic weapon that's like a 1 for 3 never breaks?
I don't like that.
No. Yeah, it's not like when anyone's drafting this set, and it's literally just to support a CC format. So
you just give Merchant a basic sword, because they said every class is going to get something. So just hopefully they don't give him silver or gold, like something like that.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's
do that.
Just give because there's heroes that people want to play that you just can't. You almost have to make it generic, because you're not going to give Shapeshifter a sword as well.
So here's another thought: is do they fill out? So we know that the Skullcap is getting reprinted. Mm-hmm. What if they fill out the other pieces of armor with the legendary equipment that is generic that we don't have, because we have the chest and the head?
Like
we don't have a legendary arm or a legendary leg.
I guess that'd be cool. Yeah, like a legendary bracers and the legendary leg piece. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, something that offers value, that it basically fills the role. Because right now, if you think about the different classes and what they're missing, what is Kano is missing some sort of headpiece that offers more value than what he's getting. Mm-hmm. So like Skullcap fills a role that is not great there, but it's okay. But like Ninja, if you gave Ninja an arm or legs that could fill the role of like, instead of Snapdragons, because Breaking Scales or Breeze Riders is good, but is there something that would be generic that could be better? Or like Dash, something that would fill the role of like the Goliath Gauntlet-esque thing, but just something that could even block for some of those classes, because oftentimes that's the issue. Is Skullcap fills a role that is literally just there for block. So decks that don't have a great arm piece, like Brute or Mechanologist, they run Goliath Gauntlet a lot of times because it's just the best option to put there.
It's push damage, or what am I going to block 1 with Iron Rot? Like, no, I'll push 2 damage. Yeah.
So,
I can see that.
It offers, it offers a potential for something like that. I think I'm really interested in what the legendary will be. or not the Legend of the Fabled will be.
Yeah.
Like what does that end up being? Does that end up being something Shyana like?
It would be like a Viscerai specialization.
It'll be a chain special.
It's
going to be
Briar.
Rune
It'll be
Blade.
a Briar specialization.
It's a Rune Blade. Yeah.
Yeah.
God
damn.
Do you think it'd be too broken to have a generic leg piece that you could pay 2 or 3 to give your next card go again? That's a once per turn action. If you had to pay enough for it, so it wouldn't be overly broken.
I mean, you would have to, if it's going to be generic.
That's what I'm saying.
I think if it's going to be
expensive,
if it's going to be a generic thing that gives like a go again generically, then I think it would have to not block. I don't think you could.
Right? No, it couldn't block. But I'm just saying, like, pay 3.
2.
I know Time Skippers does that now and breaks for 3 with 1 time, and that's why it's so bad.
I mean, I think it would, yeah. And it would need to be like specifically. Fuck, yeah, because I'm trying to think of like what doesn't break, like what having that wouldn't break, like fucking Bravo. Because it's like you can't. It's something that gives go again.
No, because Bravo's expensive. Everything is expensive, so you can already run Time Skippers.
Double hammers though. Fucking go, baby.
I think it's more.
But how would you afford that? Hammers are to do the anvil. That's 4 cost. Or are you talking 2 Titans fists for 4 and 4?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know that's worth it. I'm just.
Yeah, I think the issue is if it's 2 or 3, it probably never sees play. If it's 0 or 1, it's broken. So it falls in that category of like you almost just can't make it.
Mm.
But if they made some sort of maybe arms piece that offered some, I mean, it'd be cool to see if they made some sort of life gain or life drain or some sort of interrupt kind of thing. If they could make some sort of way to, I don't know, just if they're, I think it has to do something different. Yeah,
maybe they give
I would like to see some negates come out for instances. For instance, I don't like that you have tons of instants in this game and only one negate that one hero can run that nobody runs.
Because it only stops 1 or less, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aether Eyes just stops 1 cost or less instance.
Yes.
Well, but then the problem is it thematically doesn't work to give everybody access to an instant that just says negate.
Everybody does. Everybody does have access to an instant. They have Art of War.
No.
Every class has access to an instant.
So I don't have an issue with having access to an instant like Art of War that's generic that makes more damage or go against, because that's thematically correct with the game, that people who are physically fighting could fight harder or fight, more, versus like, I'm just thinking of like a warrior like Bolton who's like in a sword battle and a guy is like, I will sword strike you, and then Bolton goes,
Warriors call. No, Warriors call, right? Warriors call. So you come in with your Art of War to +1, right? Bolton has his Warriors call where you see the charge, which cancels it because you just get diminished. You're like, right when you get your troops fired up, all of a sudden here comes the cavalry, and they're like, fuck this, we're running the other way. So thematically, I think it could work.
I think what you would have to do is like make them class specific and not generically like a negate, but instead something that counteracts in a way that fits thematically with the class. Like Warrior's Call makes sense for a warrior, but then there are classes that it's kind of weird with.
I use that as
I'm really wary. I'm really wary of negates. I don't want this game to turn into that. Like, I think that the thing that makes the game really enjoyable is the back and forth play. And if you are just able to say,
it is back and forth. You come in with something that I can't respond to at all, and a lot of times you just lose because of it. In chain, you just lose to Art of War, and if they double Art of War in chain, you just lost the game. It's very hard to win if chain double Arts of War, but being able to cancel one of those would be huge. And once again, a thing that this game can still do that has done it very limited is make a rare legendary where it's only one of in a deck, like they did with chain, because it would be broken if you could.
Or the pulses.
You can do that with generics. You can make those limited. There's space in this game to do that, where you have that, where if they're setting up for that big turn for Beacon with Bolton, you have your one negate that you can do one time to cancel that to try to stay alive and do something else. I'm not talking about breaking the game. I'm talking about responding in critical instances to help.
I almost wonder if that doesn't even end up getting run though, if it's a legendary like that. Because like the reason that the legendaries that aren't legendary, that are like rare or something, work is because it's a card that you are functioning at like a baseline of 10. And if you see that card, it spikes your output and adds to what you can do. But if you don't see that card, it doesn't change your game plan. But if we were doing like a legend, like a one of like defense reaction or a one of negate or something like that, like that's basically you saying, I'm adding this in because I hope I see it before or at the right time of them doing this one thing that like this
also Weisenloft is a guaranteed one of that.
I mean, that's
going
just
in your deck,
right? But that doesn't like do anything crazy. I think what they probably
does do something crazy. Turns on Oak and Old, plus it blocks for 6, plus you can pitch it. It does it.
Right.
That card's amazing. Actually, it's absolutely amazing.
I think to Dane's point, I think what you need is more cards that exist like Snag that can be very like meta dependent and very good at doing what they do, but can still be 3-ofs because they don't break the game or do something that relies on you seeing the one card. Because it feels just as bad to get hit with the one card that beats
how
you.
would a negate not be okay? Because how many instances are there? It would lightning press, Art of War.
So
what else is heavily played?
But I have no issue with like the conceptual idea of a negate, except for the fact that Snag effectively negates lightning press because it doesn't allow for the card to like gain the power, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think more importantly, what more decks need access to is something like Blizzard that strips something like Go Again, because oftentimes when you lose games on certain turns, and
that's more broken. That's more broken than a negate. Losing Go Again, I mean, that hurts a ton of decks. That hurts.
But in the same way that like Blizzard does it, you do it in a way that makes it so it's like you have to time it correctly, or you just have to force them to do more. So you make it so it's a pay 2 to get the Go Again or to not lose it. The issue with the negate, I think, is like also conceptually with how the game functions. What are you negating, and how are you wording it in a way that doesn't just completely end up being problematic to the structure of the game? Because you can't just say negate the card, because then you can negate anything.
No, it's got to be an instant. I'm not talking about negating a card. I'm talking about negating instant. I want an instant to negate instance. That is it. Not negate any card.
I think that's situational enough where it's fine. Like, I think that if that was in the set, it would be fine.
I don't think anybody plays it.
I don't think anyone would play it either, but I think I don't think it'd be good enough.
Kano has it. I would never run it in the deck. Not in a million years. Even if
because you're going too fast, a control deck would run it. A control deck would run it. It would be good in a control deck. With our Art of War is now almost in every deck. Like that card is now a 3-of in almost every single deck that's run. And if Dane's got Prism, right, and they play out that because they're going to try to attack him, and then they're going to get rid of his aura, and he negates that Art of War, that's a huge turning point in that game.
So here's a better game theory question. Does it make more sense to print a solution to one card or ban a card?
I don't, but I mean, Art of War, I don't like banning card. I like solutions more than banning.
Right. But if the solution,
because it allows them to print other generic instance in the future that has a control
game. So going back to the game theory, the point that Blake was making, it's like that you are shrinking down your design options by adding additional caveats to what you can and can't do within the game versus opening game space, like game design space.
I think they've opened game space plenty.
But what we're saying is like if you now have printed a card to answer another card, that card's text and what it does now limits to some degree what they can do in the future because the card exists.
Design in the future.
Versus versus just banning a bad card, and that doesn't in any way hinder what they can go forward doing because they've just removed cards from the card.
I just don't want them to start banning cards like that because
neither do I.
And I don't want the card banned. What I'm saying is the other, because here's the thing, right? Everything that you create, you have to be careful of the caveat that it also creates. Because here's the other solution to it, right? I play Art of War. You built your entire control game plan, or that turn, you're like, I'm surviving because I'm going to negate their Art of War. I'm going to do it. And you go, negate. And they go, got him. Negate your negate. I win. Art of War resolves. Suck it.
Right.
Because that's the thing.
That's awesome.
That sounds like
That's
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Good. There's
but
nothing wrong with that.
That's Yu-Gi-Oh. That's Dragon Ball Super. If you want to play it, go do it. If you want to go play Magic,
It's
play
three.
Magic.
It's 3 cards. It's 3 cards.
Right. But
we're already
okay, hold on,
playing
hold on.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic with fucking Briar in chain. That we've done it for the last 2 metas. So I don't know what the problem is.
That's not the same. Like, because
Oh, it is the same. Watching
not
chain
the
play
same.
out
It's
their turn
not.
for
It's
5
not.
minutes. It is. Chain's
not.
turns were
No.
5. They had to ban a card because he was so bad.
Right,
How-
but that's after
okay,
like
hold-
turns and turns of gameplay and it getting to a certain point that you've both set up
It's
that
a-
game
it's a
state.
game state.
And like that is not Yu-Gi-Oh. That is not.
No, but I'm saying you're saying I'm making a card that's a 3 of that just negates Lightning Press and Art of War is horrible, yet we can't errata Briar to make her only an elemental.
Oh, no, hold on.
where we allow all this other shit to
No,
happen.
when did I miss
we
that
never
question?
said
Because I
anything
agree
about
with
it.
that.
No,
Never-
because
I agree with that.
Briar it would negate Lightning Press. Lightning Press turns on a shit ton of Briar because it's an instant. So she goes hit and run. You block it properly. She does it off her plunder run. Now she draws 2 and has go again. If you negate that,
Okay, hold on.
now
hold on.
she gets none of
Hold
those
on.
hit effects.
I'll be honest, you lost me. I'm sorry. I
You
missed.
lost me because here's the thing. We never said anything about Briar. Briar is a problem. I don't think that Briar is a problem. I don't think that Lightning Press is a problem. I think Plunder Run is a problem. So if
I'm
we
just
want to
saying,
talk about
but
that
you're-
issue, it's
no,
not
I'm talking,
lightning.
but it's a negate.
No,
But it's a negate that blocks Lightning Press.
No,
It
it's not.
does.
Lightning Press isn't the problem. Because we've
No,
had
I
Razor
understand
Reflex
that.
forever. We've had Razor Reflex. Lightning Press isn't the problem. Plunder Run is the problem. You are describing
Plunder Run is not
Plunder
the
Run
problem.
as a problem.
It is not.
So
The problem is that
Razor
is
Reflex.
no Plunder Run is not the
just read
problem. The
Razor
problem
Reflex.
the problem is that it doesn't say on her card elemental cards only. That's the problem.
So what does that have to do with negating Lightning Press?
But I'm just saying a negate allows for other cards of an Art of War. It allows Lightning Press, a lot of things that she can turn on, right?
You literally hold on. That's the other thing. You're saying that you want them to print a card to solve Art of War and Lightning Press. But again, neither one of those cards is, in theory, if the card is so bad it needs to be negated, then the card needs to just not exist. But Lightning Press isn't a problem. Lightning Press in and of itself doesn't do anything wrong because
No,
it's
it doesn't.
just
I'm not
it's
saying that,
free
but
Razor
it
Reflex.
helps. But if you had a
But what does
negate,
it
I'm
help?
saying I like a negate because it would help in those situations. It allows
Just-
more depth to the game.
No, you know what fixes that problem? A defense reaction, which we have access to 1 million of.
No, I understand that, but there's other things
There-
that you can do within this game.
But there's a solution. But here's the thing. Why would I make 3 sideboard slots in my deck for a negate to stop 2 cards when I could just go, well, defense reactions are good against everybody. I'll just put the defense reaction in. No one's
Because
going to play it.
There'd be certain matchups that, well, then if nobody plays it, then why do you have an issue with it being printed? Nobody's going to play it. Just print it then.
So why are we going to print us? Because it limits game design space in the future. Every card that you print from that card's existence until eternity has to dance around
Every
the
card
existence
does that.
of the card.
Every
Not
card does
every
that.
card does that.
You just
can't
brought up
print
Plunder Run.
instance. Right. And I said Plunder Run needs banned, and I've said that forever. I think Plunder Run
That's actually that's like the perfect example of a card that at the time of its printing was not an issue, but that needed to be taken into account going forward for the rest of all sets, and that they didn't properly take into account with Briar, whose effect benefits more so than any other character's effect with the interaction with Plunder Run.
And they don't need to ban Plunder Run. They need to errata Briar for that effect.
I think
all you have to do is make her say elementals, and she can't make the embodiments of lightning off Plunder Runs and Nimblisms, and it makes that design. Now she has to run Electrifies and Weave Lightnings, and it makes the deck do what it's supposed to do based on that character's cards.
Plunder Run also could easily have been fixed because it was misprinted as saying the next time an attack hits this turn. If it just said if the next attack gains +3, and if this card hits, draw a card, it's solved. the card is fine. But they didn't build the card right. They built it too generically, just like a card that would say negate an instant. And building a card generically
why would that be broken?
Because
why would that be broken?
Because now for the next 15 years,
you can't make
they need
card
to
that generically says
every
X.
instant they ever consider designing in the next 15 years needs to take this fucking card into account. Whatever the card is that looks like.
What is wrong with that?
Because why limit it if it's not a problem? Because if in your what you said, Jason, is like if it's not going to be an issue or if it's not broken or it's not going to be run, then why not just print it? And it's because it adds a caveat that doesn't need to be added for the next 15 years.
It makes design space hard.
I personally don't see an issue with it.
It's design space exists, and you want design space to be as wide as possible. The second you create cards that generically say X, everybody has to dance around it. That's why they're so careful in most cases about printing things to fit certain things. They didn't print Plunder Run to say like if Plunder Run was a ninja card
until Briar. Plunder Run was fine.
It's always been a problem. Have you never played against a ninja where they like went 4 wide and you had to cover up every single attack when you can't do it?
With Bravo, and it's never been an issue.
I just Bravo's it's because it's fucking Bravo. It's not everybody has that benefit. So you printed a card that is a problem for everybody, but now it doesn't mess with Bravo, so I don't care. So everybody else can suck it.
I don't think Plunder Run's an issue until Briar. It wasn't like decks weren't winning.
Bravo.
No, but I've played other ones. I played Bolton. I've played lots of stuff.
Okay, that's fine. Play Ninja into Ninja and see how great it is to not be able to cover up their attacks and let them Plunder Run and then just blow you out for 10
Ninja.
Exactly. So you don't understand how Plunder Run affects other people.
That card didn't become insanely good until Briar was able to make what makes it good in her is just the fact that she can make the lightning off of it.
And she can play from hand to a positive effect. Typically
generic.
Well, no, so the issue with Briar is that it can be played from hand to a positive effect without, because like typically you need to arsenal and set it up and get the plus, and that way when you draw the card, it's not just replacing itself. Because if you just play it from hand, the only thing that card does is replace itself in hand. So you might as well just be running the other card. Briar says if you play this from hand, now you get a lightning token, and then it turns on this, and it sets up the double card draw if you double plundered, right? So it's giving you a positive effect on top of replacing itself, making the lightning token, which other decks, since up to now, has not been able to do. There's been no benefit to playing Plunder Run from hand till now, except for like Viscerai or something, where like you want to play an attack action.
Prior, you openly play it from hand just because it is so good,
right?
Because it's too generic.
Yes.
Because it doesn't.
Because
Briar be eroded. That's it.
And
she's you would never play it from hand with Katsu. If you did, because your hand sucks. But you will play it from hand with Briar because it turns on Briar's ability, which is what is broken is Briar's ability.
I mean, if I have an attack in my arsenal and 4 cards in my hand and Plunder Run is one of them, and I have my Tunic up, I'll play it from hand with Katsu to try and force them to block my whole turn. It's a tempo card. The fact that it draws a card on any hit and not on the first hit, you basically says cover the whole turn
as well, which is better. But yes, if you have a full hand because they put 0 pressure on you and you took 30 damage and now you have 5 cards with a Plunder Run, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
It's a massive tempo card though, and that's the issue. If it said the next card, it would be totally fine. They printed it generic, it makes it an issue, and then cards can break it when it runs into something like Briar, who goes, oh, I can just get another benefit out of it too. Now the fact that it's generically good and gives them another benefit makes it completely broken, but it's always been crazy good. There's a reason everybody who can include it, like reasonably and logically, Bolton has included it. Like anybody who runs attack action cards and goes wide always runs Plunder Run. Every deck that goes wide. So it's basically like Art of War. Anybody who can theoretically use it to their benefit and can do what that card wants to do will absolutely use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't like getting rid of good cards like that. I rather errata a hero and still keep a card that is good for other decks like Bolton. Because if you take that away from Bolton, he becomes a lot worse and becomes less playable as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to remember that you take that away from decks that need that that can't
I don't
do
think that
any.
Art of War should be banned.
No,
You're
I'm
talking
saying
about
plunder.
Oh.
Plunder Run, because Bolton needs that card too.
Which is fine, but that's what I'm saying. The card isn't an issue specifically just because of Briar. The card is an issue because it's generic and it's turn length. And that's what I'm saying is like you can't design.
If Bolton doesn't have that, he's trash. He's absolute trash. He is so much better with that.
That feels so. 3 cards in his deck make him go from good to trash.
3 to 6. Yeah, well, you need the buff cards because there's plenty of decks that aren't going to. If he doesn't go again and he doesn't get the buff, you need those buff cards.
I understand that. I'm just saying, like, that feels like an exaggeration to make a point that just because he has Plunder Run, he's great, and if he didn't have it, he'd be shit. Like,
no, it makes him better. I just don't think you should. You don't need to pull back from decks that need some of those generically good cards when you can easily errata one hero and it'll solve so many things.
Right. But I'm not talking about but Briar is a prime example of making a card generic. She was made too generic. Cards that are made too generic are problematic. You make a generic that just says the word negate on it, it will be a problem eventually because people who play card games are degenerates and they break everything. If you create a world where it
matter, everything that's printed is going to be broken.
No, that's why the only deck that has a negate in it is Katsu, is Kano. Like Kano has a negate. He's the only deck who has it. That's why it's not a problem.
I don't know. I want every person to have negates, and I just want to see a bunch of games just people getting frustrated and negated all game.
But what's more frustrating, that or watching your other player just keep playing card after card after card after card?
I think that is more the solve that through errata or ban, and don't like make a whole game.
I brought up is a very simple card that doesn't break the game, yet we have all kinds of other shit that's completely broken in the game that's had to get fixed. Now we have another issue that hasn't been addressed yet and needs to be fixed. Is way more of an issue than a negate card that literally just stops one other card and you can do it 3 times in a game. And it's an instant. There's no remembrance, no way to bring it back 3 times a game. That is it. Versus Nimbleisms and Plunder Runs in Briar, because Nimbleism is just as good, even just getting +3 and
that's actually a really good point. Is like if they do print this instant negate, then they can never print a remembrance for instance.
They better not. Absolutely not. Can you imagine bringing back Sigils of Solus with Bravo? I'll bring these back and gain another 9 life. I got 70 life during the game. No big deal. No big deal. I run my 3 remembrances, 3 Sigils of Solaces, so I just get 27 life during the game. So I'm at 67. How's your game going? Yeah, they should be
fucking miserable.
I mean, canceling Remembrance in Bravo when his entire structure is built around like playing the long game and blocking with stuff, gonna feel real shitty too.
But he only runs one of them, and sometimes you don't even play it in the game because you're pitching it early because you see it the wrong time.
Right, but then if you actually need it and someone negates it, you're like, oh, cool, yeah, cool. I blocked with my cripplings earlier because I had to. I had no choice, but I guess I'll just go kill myself.
That sounds awesome, actually. I like this card, Jason. We should get on the horns of the LSS because I like this.
No, they just need to errata the heroes. Generic heroes are way worse than generic cards.
Which is fine. I mean, since her inception, I mean, people were like, "What's the problem?" She doesn't say elemental on it. It's the same problem that the Rosetta Thorn has. Rosetta Thorn should have said elemental runeblade. I don't know why they can't figure that part out. It's like they ran out of room on these cards and they were like, "We should print the text. It won't fit in the text box. Nah, it won't be a problem. It'll be fine." Like that part I don't understand. Like to me, that's like a way bigger game. I have zero issue with Art of War personally because like Chain has never bothered me. I beat Chain because I play Bravo, so I don't care about Chain. So that's the theory. I play Bravo, so F everybody because I beat whoever I want to beat.
So I don't want Plunder Run. That's the way Bolton beats Bravo. Plunder Run.
Yeah, Bolton can eat shit. He can die. I don't care. He can go away.
Go away.
He's one of the only people who gives me problems with Bravo. So.
And now Art of War is going to be in Bravo and Oldham. So,
well, yeah, I don't want to ban
the new
now.
age of Art of War.
I don't want to ban now.
30% of the decks, now it'll be in 100%. It's a good card. I mean, it's not a broken card. I just think it's broken in Chain.
Yeah, I mean, but that that's again a problem with, apparently they just can't, like they made Viserai and they were like, he seems good. And then he like got a set later and they were like, man, we like Rune Blades. We could tune him up a little bit. And then they made Chain and then they made Briar and everyone's like, I think you went too far. I understand that you wanted to power up the Rune Blades a little bit, but you might have maybe, instead of like just giving them a little bit better diet and fitness regimen, like you really went full steroids on them.
In Viserai, the poor guy doesn't see a top 8 till the last couple of weekends and big events,
Yeah.
or not very frequently, because I mean he just was horrible when he came out. And now they're like, we're not making that Rune Blade mistake again.
And now what's funny about Viserai is if you watch how Viserai functions, the reason Viserai is good right now is because he counters the other Rune Blades. Like what he does in making he can like make 20 rune chance and then hit him with all his mixed damage, and it's more they can't deal with it, and then they die to their own. So it's like the only thing Viserai has solved is the problem that he created, which was being a Rune Blade in the first place.
What I don't want to see from this new set, the only thing I don't like, I don't want to see another meta where 135 people are playing the same thing out of 400. I was so happy with this game seeing the mixed top 8s, and those have gone to the wayside, and the very mixed top 8s have become very watered down with the same heroes, and I hate that. So I'm hoping whatever they come up with, we can see a good spread of heroes again.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about that. I think like even if you were to go to, I think that Nats came at the perfect time in relation to people finding the new red deck wins. Like it was like 2 weeks after, right when people are like still really hype. Like imagine if Nats was like the week after Death Dealer Lexi came out. Think of how many more people would have been on that. But then it took a couple weeks of like going to locals or just testing with people, and people were like, yeah, I mean like this deck is great and it can fucking explode, but it can also, like there was enough time there for people to realize what the deck was and what it wasn't. And not saying that Death Dealer Lexi is anything compared to Briar, because it's not. But just as an example, this came like 2 weeks after the Briar deck was sort of spoiled to the world and the community saw it, and everybody was like, we're all doing this. And the people who were like, we're going to counter that, or we're going to tech for that, or we're going to figure this out, didn't have time to put together a game plan to counter it. It was just the people that grabbed the fucking deck and ran that.
But realistically, there was only 2 decks that could counter that deck.
Yeah.
And they were both Guardians.
But I mean, yeah, well, I think that there's also like people figuring out like, oh, Viserai actually does a pretty good job countering it. Like, but people aren't practiced or playing Viserai regularly. Yeah. So I think what I'm trying to say, my point is that if there was a Nats 2 weeks from now, I think that without any errata, without any ban, I think that the ratios are different. I think that there's less Briar in the field.
So I will say I think Briar still reigns supreme in a lot of ways, because she exists in a world that to me is the classic, to your point, Dane, like red deck win strategy, or she's Ira in CC effectively, which is, again, people are going to get their feelings hurt. We don't apologize for that here. So I will not apologize to people for saying this statement. Briar is not hard to play. I don't care what anybody says. It's the same as with Ira. People are like, well, the mirror. I don't care. It's all chance based. It's RNG. Congrats, you drew all your nut cards. Congrats, you didn't draw the nuts. You lose. Whatever. I don't care. The deck is easy to play. That's why people played it, and it's cheap to play. That's also why people played it, because it's a quick, easy transition. Playing Bravo or Oldhim or Viserai is hard. It takes a ton of time to play, takes a ton of time to learn, and you're not just trying to beat Briar. You have to beat all the other decks too. And control decks or mid-rangey to control like Viserai that's playing like into Briar is playing a almost like semi-OTK strategy. It takes time to learn how to do that. And sideboarding is really important, and sideboarding is really complicated, and it's hard to play control when you haven't played it a lot. So picking up Oldhim and doing well in a tournament is an absurd thing to think. playing Briar where you just go plunder run from arsenal, plunder run from hand, snatch for 7 with go again. If it hits, I draw 3 cards, and then daring somebody to not have a defense reaction to cover up a lightning press. It's not rocket science. It's red deck wins. It's like, I'm just going to puke all my cards onto the table and hope that you can't stop me from puking 40 damage into you before you die. Like that was it. That was literally the entire strategy of Briar. Which is why, I mean, a prime example, Jason, how many cards did we run in Bravo to fatigue her?
60.
How many did we run to fatigue Chain?
71. 72.
Interesting. So we believed that we could properly fatigue Briar with 11 less cards. You know why? Because it's not hard to fatigue somebody who's just puking their cards on the table mindlessly. Like the deck was highly represented because it was easy to play and it was cheap. If you didn't, the only thing that people needed to buy realistically was
the grasp.
CNCs, and they didn't even have to have CNCs. You could do it without it. I mean, yeah, grasp is nice, but I mean, grasp is even kind of a CNCs was literally just for control matchups. So maybe you could hit them with and get damage through when they didn't have, or when they had defense reactions or something. I don't know. I think the deck is obnoxious, but I think it would be solved over time. But I do wish they would just fix the hero, because I think
solved for Guardians. The problem is
Prism
can't solve it. Bolton, it's a shootout. Katsu almost always loses to it. Dorinthia, I don't even know where she's at. She must be at the Everfest getting fucking hammered because nobody's seen or heard from her for a long time.
She's on the
She needs
Tilt-A-Whirl.
something to bring her back.
She's
on
honestly teacup spinning around.
I would like to see Dorinthia come back because it's going to knock out a lot of, I don't know how to put this, bad players. Just in rogue decks and bad players. She can gatekeep them. And then when she goes up against a good player, she'll have a good fight. Because if a good Dorinthia player knows how to stack the deck, they can make it so it's really hard to block. So I would like to see her get help, because I'd like to see her back in the meta. It would be nice to see Dorinthia back in there. I'd like to see Reinar back in the meta. So there's a lot of these older heroes that do things that help make checks and balances of decks. I mean, Prism checks and balances Guardian, and Guardian checks and balances the red decks. And if you hit bad matchups, it sucks. So just get some more decks in there to knock out some rogue decks. And I don't know. I just don't want the same path the last two metas have gone down.
After Nats, I think Prism's a real bad meta call. She does not. I would be really curious to see if anyone has figured out how to play into Briar, because like Lightning Briar is I guess, I don't know. If I knew that it was going to be like Lightning Briar heavy, there's definitely a way to do it, but
Thinks and fates and sigils.
Yep, just
I think that's the only way.
I mean, it's even weird in that sense, though, because like Briar presents a weird world where even sigils can be a liability at times, because I literally lost one of my Briar games because I was holding a sigil and not a 3-block card. So they presented 6, I stopped 3, and then instead of taking an additional 3, I took the 3 plus I took the electrify 3. So if I block 3, I take 6 anyway, which feels real bad. So it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of credit goes to someone like Tarek, who created the deck and really put a ton of time into figure it out. But then I think a lot of good players existed in a world going into nationals where it was like, does your deck beat it? No, better play it. That was the options. I don't know what I would have done if Bravo didn't have some sort of solution to it. I don't know what I would have done, because all of my energy for months has been into Bravo and trying to solve the meta with Bravo. And then all of a sudden, here comes Briar, and for a while we weren't exactly sure what you did into it. Do you try to have a slugfest? But then that became a real RNG nightmare where if you draw Crippling Crush back to back with Spinals and things, sure, you win, but it's pretty reliant on a really bad strategy until Jason and Kale figured out, Shield, and it gave us a way in. That wasn't the best solution, but it was a solution that made the deck playable.
Made it good. So yeah, we'll see. We're not going to see. I will say I saw people bitching that it's not coming out till February. I just want to say thank God it's not coming out till February. I don't need another set right now. Let's relax.
Yeah.
Enjoy the holidays. Figure out some new cards. Stop playing fucking Briar. Learn a new deck, and have some fun before the new cards come out. So that way, if there's a sweet ass card, you've played 3, 4, 5 different decks, and then it's not scary to pick up and change decks if you see a cool card and a new class comes. So play new decks. When skirmishes come around, don't play Ira. Find another deck. Have fun. Enjoy playing the game, which usually involves not playing Ira. When you're at your local armory, don't play Ira if it's a Blitz event. Have fun. Try new decks. It's okay to explore. It's okay to lose. It's not, you don't always have to win. So
Hold on a minute. But I am personally validated by XP. What do you say to me?
then I don't know what to tell that person.
Yeah. Then you should be playing Ira.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's all I got for you guys this week.
Helps us find you in a crowd, which is great.
We vented, we fought. It's just been a great night overall.
Oh yeah, I can't complain.
Best of times, the worst of times. Actually, what's the worst of times? I actually like fighting more than getting along. Getting along is fucking boring.
It's really
Like,
boring.
who wants to see a bunch of guys? Oh yeah, I agree 100% with you, Blake. Oh Dane, that was a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. That's 100% what I think. Nobody wants to hear that. Okay, nobody.
It's fucking terrible, dude. Oh God, it did take me a little bit. You guys needed to like lead each other through like your little bickering, because afterwards I was just like, dude, I got fucking shellacked by these two, because the carnival does not fucking fit any of the aesthetic of like this fantasy land. But that's cool. That's just me. I want to know, one, if you're watching an hour and a half into this, thank you. But also, fucking, am I the only one? Because I could be the only one. I could be the only one that's like, oh, this carnival thing is totally kosher with everything that the world of flesh and blood. And then under the world of flesh and blood, it's like peanuts and mini donuts as well.
That sounds amazing. I think there's a stand there. I saw a kid eating them.
Yeah.
But anyway, can you like when you start on your thing, just put like a header on the bottom of it, say, am I insane, or do you agree, or like who's
I'll
right,
put something
who's
there
wrong?
to like, get people
like
to
vote. Is it, I need help. It was 2 against 1. Please vote my way,
that.
even if you don't believe me.
I'll put something. I'll do something for that. I totally acknowledge that it could just be me. It's just like, because I was picturing more fantasy and less like, less, when I say modern, I mean like fucking 1700s to now. Like, I'm not talking like modern, like 2000 plus. So like, I was picturing a less modern like carnival is all.
I need to go through and find room to put Aetherize into my Kano deck. I'm gonna do that tonight.
So fucking
I'm gonna play.
bad.
I'm gonna play Art of War.
Just
I'm gonna
to
put
spite everybody. You'll put Art of War in your Kano.
I'm gonna put Art of War in Kano. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
You just have to draw it at the same time that you draw one of your 3.
And you'll play it to no effect, and then I'm gonna cancel it to no effect, and no effect will happen.
All right. I'll be honest, I'm worn out.
Good. You'll sleep good tonight.
No fancy closing. No, I won't. I gotta edit now. So, like and subscribe. Comment down below. Talk to y'all later. Peace.